Hey everybody, good Wednesday evening. Welcome to another episode of Bowling with the Fef, a platform for you to share your unique bowling story live on our YouTube channel. A quick shout out to everyone over in North Carolina who is attending the Jimmy, gosh, and I can't remember his last name. Ugh. But the Celebrity Classic. You've got country music performances. I know Nelly is performing over there. AJ Johnson, Pete Weber, T.O., all the big stars of the PBA Tour and of entertainment. Kind of colliding, and that's actually going to hit TV a week from Sunday on October 16th. I know it depends on the market you're in when you're actually going to be able to see it on television. So as they say, check your local listings. I know the Packers play at noon. So hopefully that doesn't prevent you from seeing the Packers, because that's a very important thing. There we go, Nico. Jimmy Allen. If you couldn't tell, I'm not the biggest country fan, but I love the enthusiasm that Jimmy Allen has for bowling, for the PBA. I know he's planning to give it a shot in the next year or so, but thank you, Nico. I mean, you've saved me on this show more than once, and I really appreciate that. But Jimmy Allen, Celebrity Classic tonight going on in North Carolina, and looking forward to seeing that a week from Sunday. They crowned the first Tier 1 USB Collegiate champions over the weekend in the Milwaukee area, and Lawrence Tech came out on top on the men's side. They won that school's first ever Tier 1 event at Bowling With The Fef outside Milwaukee. Lawrence Tech from Southfield, Michigan, which is a suburb of Detroit. They qualified for bracket play as the 5th seed, then took down McKendree and Indiana Tech and Calumet on their way to the title. On the women's side, it was Mount Mercy, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, taking the crown at AMF West in Milwaukee. They qualified 3rd and defeated Notre Dame, Midland, and St. Ambrose. So congratulations to the winners. That's a huge tournament, brings in a lot of great bowling schools, a lot of great programs, and certainly a big accomplishment to win the Midwest Collegiate tournament. Well, this summer, senior state champions from all over the country are going to be descending on Wisconsin, which is pretty neat. They will have the USBC Senior Championship at the Ashwaubenon Bowling Alley from August 1st through 4th of 2023. The seniors qualify through their state's senior tournament and then advance to the national tournament. Ashwaubenon was the host of Wisconsin's regular USBC Open Championship tournament, the state tournament this past year. So a fine facility, I believe about 60 lanes in that house. So plenty of room for not only spectators, but also some of the best amateur seniors in the country. So looking forward to that as well. A great summer event, the USBC Senior Championship, just outside of Green Bay, Wisconsin, at the Ashwaubenon Bowling Alley. Bowling with the Fef is brought to you by Chip Magnet Salsa, a local company, local to me anyway, in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, just outside of where I live. They distribute quality salsas and other food products to stores in more than 38 states and Canada. In the Dubuque, Iowa area, you can go to Hy-Vee or Whole Foods to get your Chip Magnet fix, or wherever you are in the country. You can always go to chipmagnetsalsa.com. Chip Magnet, raise your snack standards, and a big thank you to those at Chip Magnet for supporting Bowling with the Fef, as they have done for nearly a year now. And I appreciate it each and every time. So our guest tonight just finished up her rookie campaign in the PWBA Tour, finished 13th among rookies in 2022. She is originally from South Dakota, but has made her way to Potosi, Wisconsin, which is in the southwestern part of the state. Let's go ahead and bring her on. She is the Pineapple Princess, Brooke Allen, and so happy to have her tonight on the stream. Welcome to Bowling with the Fef, Brooke.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Really glad to have you here. I want to start out with the whole pineapple thing. I mean, I saw one of your social posts about pineapple jerseys, and
Yep.
you sent a picture that has you, and I believe this one is the pineapple jersey, correct?
Those are giraffes. That's my favorite animal.
Yeah, we'll take that down and talk about the pineapple. We'll go with the pineapple.
Okay, so it's this crazy thing that doesn't even involve bowling, really. My senior year of high school, me and my best friend, the summer we graduated, we spent every single day together, like literally every single day. Um, like we slept in the same house. Like we would take turns. We would go to my parents' house and we go to hers. So we got a tattoo of a pineapple on our ankles. So we got matching tattoos, and we just got it like to represent the summer. And I was going away for college, so I was 8 hours away from her. So it was just one of those things. It's so funny, and I just love how pineapples look. Like they're so cute. Um, I don't know, just one of those things. And I actually really don't like pineapples, like the fruit. I like
Like to
pineapple
eat them.
juice. Like I would never eat it on a pizza. Oh my gosh.
I'm glad you
But
said that because one of our previous guests told me they do belong on pizza. I disagree, so I'm glad you're in my camp on that one.
yeah, so
Yeah, but no, that's cool. Since you're a former Mustang, I want to kind of get your opinion on this. Let's talk about Mount Mercy winning that Tier 1 event in the Milwaukee area. Tell me, your thoughts on that. And did you ever get a chance to bowl in the Midwest Collegiate when you were in college?
yeah, so I started my freshman year at Mount Mercy, and so that was when, oh my goodness, bowling like wasn't really a thing. Like I didn't even know you could get a scholarship until my senior year of high school. Like I never would have known about college bowling unless I went to junior gold. Um, but that's awesome. They've been doing really good. Like the last couple of years, they've just been blowing up, and Andy does a really great job.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I have bowled the Midwest Collegiate Championships, I think every year. I had to sit out a year when I transferred to Clark, but I still traveled with the ladies and things like that. So
Yeah, that was always a great first start for us. I bowled at a couple of schools in state, but when you have teams like Mount Mercy, like Indiana Tech, like Lawrence Tech coming in, and back then you saw Nebraska and Wichita State,
mm-hmm.
you just never really got a sniff of the title. So it's kind of cool to see those schools, mix it up a little bit and get in that
Right,
championship circle.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
For sure. Let's kind of dig into your bowling story. You grew up in Chamberlain, South Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I hadn't gone on the typical family trip across South Dakota to get to Rapid City and Mount Rushmore, I would have no idea where Chamberlain, South Dakota is.
Mm-hmm.
But I did. And we took the kid to the Corn Palace, and you keep driving, and you realize it's lunchtime, and there's like nothing if you're not
Yep.
familiar with that area. So you end up at this place, and then you see that Chamberlain is right by there. So tell me about Chamberlain. What should we know about that area and the bowling community
Oh yeah. So my parents owned the bowling center there. We had a small 8-lane wood center or wood lane center. It's a really small town. I think when I left, it was like a town of 2,000 people or something like that. It was really nice. Everyone knew everyone. Everyone basically knew. I think I knew almost every person's birthday in my class because we were
there?
so close. I graduated with about like 68 people or something like that. So most of us like went to kindergarten together, and then we grew up and graduated together, and then went our separate ways after that. But Yeah, so I've lived there my whole life. I don't know. It's a really nice town. Bowling wise, our leagues were almost always full. My parents sold the bowling alley, I believe, when I was 16. But I still stayed close in the bowling community, and so did my parents and my sisters and things like that. So,
Yeah. The Chamberlain Bowling Dome, if I'm not
mhm.
mistaken?
Yes,
Yeah.
yep,
What
yep,
you talked about wood lanes, you said 8-lane center?
yeah.
Okay. And, centers like that have a lot of character. You learn things about, about bowling in those centers. There are, different lanes may do different things. Are there any, kind of quirks like that about that house?
Well, that's a good question. I always liked 5 and 6 for whatever reason. 5 and 6 worked well for me. But otherwise, they're very, very dry. But ever since they got the new owner, I really haven't bowled there as much to like determine how different it is from when it was back then. Then again, my style's different too. So,
Sure. Yeah.
um, but yeah, yeah, no. Usually it's stand left, throw right. So
Okay, fair enough. So, having the bowling center in your family, obviously you started pretty young. So I gotta ask, what were you doing first? Were you walking first, or were you bowling first?
so I have like little infant pictures of me bowling and on the wood lanes and things like that. They're really cute. And yeah, ever since I literally could crawl, my mom always said as soon as I could walk, I could bowl. So they would still put like the bumpers up, and that was back in the day when we had bumpers, like not the plastic bumpers where you just lift up. You had to like blow them up with the air pump, and then those were the bumpers, and that was definitely the old style. But yeah, I would just like push the ball down the lane. I remember when I wasn't old enough to bowl leagues yet. So my dad always did like a small, like 10-minute coaching session before youth league started. So I would always stand up there and be like his model, and I would run around the building and things like that. It was so fun.
Yeah. Were, your folks being in the business, were they competitive bowlers as well?
Yeah, my mom and my dad are. So now they just kind of bowl leagues, slowing things down a little bit, but they support me through bowling and things like that. And both of my sisters bowl, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Was there a friendly rivalry between the sisters on the lanes as all kind of grew in the sport and got better at it?
We always joke about it. Like we always joke about being better than the other. But me and my sisters are five, so from my from my littlest sister 6 years, and then from middle child 5 years. So there's quite an age difference.
Okay.
Like my like Rebecca, who is my youngest sister, she's not even in college yet. So we'll kind of just see like where her college career goes and things like that. So yeah, I think it would be interesting to see what we're all like in a couple of years too.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um, you talked about kind of the coaching, your dad running clinics. Were your parents your coaches and that was it? Or were other coaches kind of in the fold as you got better as a junior?
Yeah, so when I was like in high school and things like that, well, my parents started out as my coach, and then I branched out in high school. I would travel to a lot of tournaments like on my own. So then I would have help from other coaches there. So I would drive to Mitchell, South Dakota a lot because they could put out a sport pattern for me. So I would practice that in the summer. I would go like once or twice a week um, just to get some more practice in during the summer because not very many people bowl in the summer. And when you're in high school, it's just very boring to bowl by yourself. So that's why I always drove there because there was more people there and things like that.
Yeah. That's a pretty hefty trip if I remember correctly. Is that like an hour or so or
Yeah, it's an hour. Yeah.
yeah. Wow. So you're improving, you're getting into the sport. Were there people that you looked up to, pros, top ranked amateurs in your area? Anybody who kind of influenced what your style became?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of people know that Jason Belmonte is like my all-time favorite person. motivated me to be a professional bowler. He's just someone I've always looked up to. His confidence is unbelievable. Like if I wish I had that confidence in something that I strive for. Another gal, I bowled junior gold with her. I swear I was on her squad every single time I bowled junior gold. But Brianna Clemmer, I bowled with her. I bowled beside her a lot on tour last summer, and that's really awesome to see a familiar face and someone who knows me as well. So, and oh my gosh, there's so many. And probably one more would be Kelly Kulick, just because I remember sitting at the bowling alley with my dad watching her win, what was it, the Tournament of Champions, and beating all those boys. It was just so crazy. And I said to my dad that I wanted to be just like that. And we're working on it. So,
Yeah, you're getting close, and yeah, those are fantastic influences. And I remember watching that win that Kelly had on TV. Wow, what an incredible moment! Not only for her but in the history of our sport. Um, at some point, you start, bowling tournaments. I mean, you talked about the junior leagues a little bit, but it takes a little more to get into youth tournaments and bowling in a competitive setting like that. Do you remember, kind of what prompted you to get into it that way, or was it just the natural flow of things for you?
yeah, so we had like a travel league. Bowling was never considered like our school sport. It was just like, I don't know what you call it, one of those extracurricular activities. So we still did like a travel team. So we would travel to the eastern part of South Dakota and go against other towns. So that's where I kind of got my competitive edge. Before I would just bowl league, and then I would bowl state and things like that. But when we got into ESD, you were like going against head to head with people. Like you would know if you got your point for your team and things like that. So the mental game aspect really kicked in when I started that travel league too. I did bowl. They had this scholarship tour called JBTs, and they were in Sioux Falls most of the time. And those are nice to get scholarship money too. That was also something I wanted to bowl for experience, so I was ready for college. But I also wanted to get scholarship money as well to help out with that.
Yeah. I read that you had some success in South Dakota's Pepsi tournament. Now, here in Wisconsin, I can remember bowling those Pepsi events and, making it to the regional level and just kind of petering out. You won,
Yeah.
at the state level in Pepsi. Tell me about that, what that meant to you and how it worked out so well.
Yeah, so in high school, it seemed like a lot of the time I would always get second place. It would be second place this, second place that, and it would always drive me insane. And most of the time, it was my mental game that pushed me back. And that's something I'm still working on. It's always going to be a work in progress. So, oh my gosh. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there.
That's okay. That's okay.
um,
And when you get that mental game thing figured out, let me in on the secret
Oh
because
my
yeah.
gosh. Yeah. And I've like read, I watch the podcast, listen to a podcast, when I go to work and things like that. And I've read a couple books and things. Journaling has helped me. I know I've talked to a couple pros where they will write in their journal like while we're bowling, and if they're mad, maybe they write "I'm an idiot," and then they wrote it out, but then they need to cross it off so that they don't see it when they write something else in their journal while they're bowling. So I've been doing that, and that kind of helps. It's just finding like those coping mechanisms when you find like your heart racing and thinking like negative things and things like that. So
Yeah. Yeah. You were also awarded the South Dakota Youth Star of Tomorrow in 2015. Tell us about what that's all about, what it took to receive that recognition and what that means to you.
yeah, so the Youth Star Tomorrow is you're awarded for being a really good role model to younger bowlers, and also for promoting the sport. having good sportsmanship and things like that, while also being a good bowler as well. It was really exciting. I love our South Dakota banquets. There's always a professional that's there to bowl with you and meet with, and you get to eat lunch with and things like that. And they pass out all the awards, and then you get to see other younger bowlers from around the state, and that's really fun to reunite with them. And you stay in the same hotel, and then you go swimming together and making memories like that.
Yeah. Um, how about Junior Gold? You talked about that a little bit. That was kind of the springboard that led you to really, realize the scope of college bowling and that you wanted to get into it. But it's also a pretty intense competition on demanding patterns, different houses. Tell us about your Junior Gold experience.
Yeah, it was a newsflash my very first year. Oh my goodness. I had no idea there were so many good bowlers. Like, it was crazy. And I was in the U15 when I first started.
Okay.
Um, it was so hard. Like, it was very hard. I mean, it still is really, really hard. Every year I think I got better, but the one thing that always pushed me back was my mental game. I would get upset and then I would throw games away. But I definitely learned each year and I got better at it. And then there were times where I was pretty close to the cut, but I never reached that goal. And it's just one of those things where I know in my head this is a super important super important in tournament. There we go. Oh my gosh. And I need to put my all into it. And then I just, put too much pressure on myself. So it's just having that confidence that I talked about before when I talked about Jason Belmonte. So just gaining that somehow. It's tough, but we're learning.
Yeah. So you come out of Junior Gold with this realization, like I said, that college bowling is out there and it's something that you want to get involved in. Tell me about kind of the process of not only learning that but realizing you want to do it, and how do you end up doing it at Mount Mercy, in particular?
hmm I just really love competing. I love bowling tournaments. Um, it was so exciting to me. It was so fun. People would like go hang out with their friends on the weekend, but I would always be bowling a tournament. And even now, every weekend or every Friday for work, people ask, "Oh, you bowling a tournament this weekend?" I say, "Yeah, probably, or I'll find one." Um, so I think that's what started it. It was so fun. And holding a trophy is just so exciting, and being around friends and making memories and things like that. What got me started at Mount Mercy was I went to the Collegiate Expo that they have at Junior Gold, and he came up to my dad and me and introduced himself and was telling me about Mount Mercy and things. So after
He
we got done
being
bowling,
Andy.
Andy. Oh yes, sorry.
That's okay.
Yes, Andy. And so then after I got done bowling and stuff, we could walk around and look at the booths, and then we talked to him some more, and we talked to other colleges and outweighed the pros and cons. We did a visit and things like that, and then it sounded like it was the right fit, so that's where I started at. Yeah.
Yeah. Looks like we've got somebody you're familiar with watching live, Jerry Mars, a previous guest on our show. I
Yeah.
believe you referred to him as your favorite bowler from Illinois on TikTok.
Yes, he is. He's like my best friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are gonna bowl a trios event actually this weekend too. So
Oh,
him and my fiance and I.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's a good one. Like I said, has been on the show before. So yeah, if you're interested in checking out his bowling story, it is out there. Um, Tell me about getting used to the college game. I mean, I found that, as I'm making my way through juniors, a lot of the stuff is individual. There's not a lot of team stuff that I was involved in. Then all of a sudden, it's all team. And that's, that takes some getting used to. It takes some mental adjusting, and learning how to make chemistry with the other
hmm
members of the team, and cheer on the team and not just worry about your own individual accomplishments. How did that work out for you?
Yeah, it was tough at first. I didn't even know what bakers were until like my first practice of college. I had no idea. Um, I just thought it was individual games because that's what we did for travel league. So that was exciting learning bakers because I didn't realize how fun it was, and it took the pressure off of say my individual score. So then you cheered on your teammates every single shot. That's the one thing. And it's weird because high school is so different than college. We like didn't give high fives all the time and things like that, but in college, even if you shoot a bad shot, you give your teammate a high five. You're still encouraging them to keep going, to stay positive, to keep grinding, things like that. So it's definitely a learning curve going from, like you said, working on individuals to a team aspect. But it is really nice to have your teammates to back you up, and you're not just feeling defeated on your own. They're there to make you laugh, to make you smile, maybe get you a snack to make you feel better, things like that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Were there teammates on that Mount Mercy team that you were closest to, you would say?
Yeah, there was a couple. I went to school with three of the, or not, I didn't go to school. I bowled with three of the, there's three teammates from there. There's Kayla Stammer, Cody Lovejoy, and Aaron Johnson. So we all kind of went together and we all went to Mount Mercy there. So it was nice to see some familiar faces. So.
Yeah. What do you remember about, maybe the practice and the part of being in that program to get ready for the tournaments, the events? How much did you guys practice? I mean, did you do physical fitness things, mental things? What did you do to get prepared for those events?
Yeah. So are you talking about when I was at Clark or when I was at Mount Mercy? Because they're a little different.
Well, both if they're
Both.
different,
Okay.
that'd be
I can
interesting
combine
to
the
hear
answer.
the yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So what we would do generally is we would stretch all together. And after we get done stretching, we would do some type of warm up, whether it be like one step drills. Sometimes at Mount Mercy, we would use pins and we would do one step drills with those, or just a no step drill. So just at the foul line drill, sorry. um, and just to do that to warm you up, loosen your swing, things like that. And then after that, we would set a goal for the day, and that's what I do for my practice sessions on my own now too. Is I set a goal and attempt to reach it by the end of that practice session. But we would do, I don't know, we would do a mix of things. So if we had a spare practice, we could do like stations. So on lane one, you shoot at a 10 pin. Once you get that 10 pin, you can move to lane two. Lane two, you need to shoot a 7 pin, things like that, in different spares, or you need a pocket shot and things like that. And we also held each other accountable for that. So if you nicked that 10 pin in the gutter, or your ball popped out of the gutter and you got the 10 pin, like, we're not going to count that, and just hold each other accountable for that. And that helps with the team chemistry and making sure everyone's putting 100% effort into.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm trying to think of what else we would do, but we would practice bakers a lot. One time, this is a really fun practice thing. It's called the Circle of Death, and this is where I don't know if you've heard of it before,
No.
but where so you would go, like, say I was bowling, and then all my other teammates would be on the gutter, like they would stand on the gutter or they would stand on the foul line, kind of trapping me in,
Mhm.
and then they can like wave their arms. They can't get in my face or anything. They can wave their arms, they can scream, they can stomp, anything to do to distract you, and then you try to strike, basically. So it's just trying to like block out everyone and just focus on you and the lane. So that's really fun to end practice with. I like that one. So.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. No, I haven't heard of that before. And if you're like me, you probably think, "Oh, I can block out anything." I mean, Belmo could be a lane away and I'm concentrating on what I'm doing, but it's a
Yeah,
different
right.
different ball game when you actually have those distractions right next to you, and even if it's not Belmo. Looks like your sister is on the live
I
stream.
see that.
So
Yeah. Hi,
thank you,
Alyssa.
thank you for joining us, Alyssa. You said she's a bowler too.
Yeah. She bowled a little bit in high school, not as competitive as me and Rebecca, my youngest sister, but she was really focused on gymnastics. She's a really good gymnast. So
Okay, good deal. You eventually moved on to Clark in Dubuque. Why did you make that transfer from Mount Mercy to Clark?
yeah, so I switched. I just felt it wasn't a good fit after about half the year. Um, I the classes and the chemistry with things. It just didn't feel like it was my place. It didn't. I was homesick a lot. Um, I wasn't making very many friends. I felt kind of lonely. So I told my parents, I'm like, I don't know. So we just looked at other colleges and things like that. And Brody, my fiance, is really close with the coach at Clark. So we checked that one out first, and we're like, oh, this might be a good fit. Smaller college, things like that. So we talked to Andrew. It was Andrew Bonner at the time, and he let us in. And I changed my major, so I was a business major. So originally I wanted to own my own daycare, so I figured I would have a business major to set that up and set up the programming, or being able to organize and manage that. But then I switched to elementary education when I transferred to Clark. So, but now I'm an assistant director of a daycare. So
Okay,
kind of, yeah.
so it kind of came full circle for you.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you have student athletes who come in, and they've kind of seen the rodeo, they understand a little more about the team concept and what you're going to face in college events. I've heard coaches call those people leaders and kind of call upon them to lead. What does that mean? Yeah, that can be different, from every coach. So, I reached out to Ken Gherkin and I asked him about you and said, what was it like to have her in the program? Was she a leader? He told me that you were always, trying to improve your game. Could have been shooting spares or lane play. He said you were a leader that way in trying to improve the team with different drills at practice, trying to keep the team confident during tournaments. As you were, starting out at Clark and kind of progressing there, did you see yourself as a leader of your teammates, or is that something that just kind of naturally happened?
Well, it was something that kind of naturally happened. I knew that, so when I went to Clark, I came in with a new mindset. I said, I'm going to make new friends. I'm going to give it my all. I was so nervous my freshman year, and I think that was why, because I was just so anxious all the time. Um, so it was really nice to go to Clark, and I knew that I needed to build those relationships right away with all the team members. So as I started, people already knew who I was because I bowled against them when I was at Mount Mercy. So that was good. I mean, to see more familiar faces as well. And then also having the year to sit out was nice. I didn't compete with the team, but I practiced with them and would travel to a couple tournaments with them. So I had those relationships built, and I guess just as we grew, I guess like you said, it just kind of naturally came. So, and we were a small team too, so we all knew each other. We all worked really well together. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Are these both schools? I mean, and you describe that as a small team, maybe smaller than Mount Mercy, but are these schools where if you are in the program, you are bowling right away, or do you have to kind of prove your worth and try out and qualify to make a 5-person starting varsity team?
At Mount Mercy, we had like a team trials thing. At Clark, or it'd be like a team trials format, 4 different patterns, 4 different days. I think 8 games. I'm not 100% sure there. It was a long time ago. um, At Clark, for a couple years, we did when the team was bigger. We did like a 1 day team trials, and they would turn into match play. And then they would determine by sportsmanship, spare percentage, things like that, like go into depth, not just on your score. Um, so, and then we would, at Mount Mercy, we had to mark if they got a pocket shot or not. So you would watch someone else's score and color that in, which I thought that was really cool. And I like that. But the last couple of years at Clark, our numbers kind of went down. So it was between 8 or 9 girls. So we always kind of traveled, but yeah.
Yeah. It looks like we've got the whole family on board now. Mike says, been watching, just figured out how to log in. He says hello. And
Sounds about right.
that's dad, right?
Yeah, that's my dad.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Alyssa says that mom said hi.
Hi,
So
Mom.
and Samuel says, hey, Brooke, and shout out to Ken.
Oh, hi, Sam.
Is that a bowler?
Yeah, I bowled with him at Clark for a couple
Oh,
years. I think 2 years. Yeah, he was older than me. Yeah.
cool. All right. Um, so, you know, Clark, do you find that you're kind of hitting your stride? I mean, you said you were, it wasn't really the right fit at Mount Mercy, which is why you ended up there. But did that help, kind of grow your game as a competitor, as someone who's, reaching personal goals as you're going through these events at your new school?
Yeah, definitely. And I think because it was a smaller team, it was easier to ask for help. And then you felt more, especially because there was two coaches for only like 16 people. So it was really nice you can have more one-on-one sessions and things like that. And I think that's also how my confidence grew because I didn't feel like I needed to compete against 20 different girls for a spot. And also it was my freshman year, so I was nervous about everything, nervous about every shot. I never wanted to make a mistake and make a fool of myself or anything like that. So that was also a part of it. But I don't know. I think just as I bowled college more, I saw girls that I bowled with at junior gold, and I'm like, hey, they can do it. Why can't I do it? So then it just pushed me to work harder, and especially seeing Belmo grow from when I saw him when I was a senior in high school to now. It's just insane, how much he's won since then and how many accomplishments he has. And it's just one of my, Deandra calls them outstanding goals or outer space goals.
Mhm.
So that's just like an outer space goal to be as confident as Belmo.
Yeah. If you could narrow it down to maybe one or two moments or happenings in your college career, what would you say is or are your favorite or your best?
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So my senior year of college. So okay, let's think here. So I remember when we were bowling, I believe it's called the Five Seasons Classic. It was at CRBC in Cedar Rapids, and we were bowling really really well, and we ended up winning the tournament. And oh my gosh, it was so exciting. And I also got my first ATT there as well, and it was just it's so surreal because whenever I'm bowling good, it's like I zone out completely and I don't realize that I'm bowling good. And I need to do that more often. And I don't know how to like make that switch. But anyway, I remember us winning and it was COVID, so the boys weren't allowed in the girls' center. I remember the boys were waiting for us to get done and we won. So we all started walking out. The boys ran towards us and started cheering, giving us hugs, high fives. I wish someone recorded it because I'll never forget that. Like I was in tears crying, like so happy. And then we listened to the song "We Are the Champions" on the bus too on the way back. Yeah. And then of course, like my favorite moment is winning sectionals in my region. It's so crazy. it was just one of those days where I turned it all off and I just bowled and I didn't think about anything. And it was during COVID too, so I didn't have a coach with me, so I was all on my own, and that made me nervous. And it made me nervous because it was my senior year too, so I had this pressure. And for whatever reason, it just worked out that day. So I don't know, it was very exciting.
Yeah. How did that COVID year impact you? I mean, did it did it help you guys grow as a team, kind of fighting through this common adversity that we all faced? Or was it kind of a hindrance for you?
Well, it was kind of the same for the most part because when COVID hit, it was during the summer-ish, and our bowling, well, I guess we did miss sectionals that one year. That's right. We missed sectionals when COVID hit, and that, oh my gosh, I cried and I cried for like days. We were FaceTiming like our teammates and stuff like that, and we FaceTimed Ken and things like that, and it just, we were all so upset because we were bowling so good. We were on a really good streak, and we are like, yes, we can do this. And then COVID hit, and then we couldn't. And I mean, that was really frustrating. And then all summer without bowling, whew, that was really hard for me.
Yeah.
um, but I think that's also what drove my passion more because after that, I worked harder and like I missed it so much. I was like, oh, I can't get enough of it. So, and that just never stopped. So, other than that, the bowling alleys were open once the next year started, or the next season started. So that was good. But yeah.
Yeah, we've got a couple of other folks watching live. Kristen Anderson wants to say what's up. She was a participant a couple episodes ago. Glad to see you there. And Brody, of course. That's my girl. Human. Yeah. Um, so like you said, that's your senior year. College is coming to an end. Is it kind of a foregone conclusion that you go on tour on the PWBA, or is this something that you took time to, kind of prepare for, convince yourself, anything like that?
Yeah, so it's always been one of my dreams to be a competitive bowler and to push myself beyond college. So I don't know. I bowled sectionals and then I won, or yeah, and then I won, and then I went to nationals. And I didn't bowl very good then, but also it was just so amazing to bowl against those girls that are the best in the nation. It's insane. And I think what pushed me to do that was winning sectionals. For whatever reason, it just flipped a switch, and I was like, well, if I can win sectionals, I could bowl on tour, right? And I thought if I took a gap year in between, that would push me back. So as soon as I did that, I instantly started training. I instantly started saving money, and things like that. So, and that motivated me to an extreme. So I was like, I can do this. I'm spending so much money to do this, and it's something I love. And oh my gosh, I was just so starstruck when I bowled those tournaments and all that. But oh, it was such a good experience. I no regrets there at all.
Yeah. What's it like? I mean, take me back to your first tournament. Is it, what runs through your mind as you're getting ready to take the lanes alongside all the best competitors that you've seen and looked up to?
Right. It was really scary because I'm a shy person at first. It takes me a little bit to warm up to people, and especially if I don't know anyone there. So I didn't really know anyone. I knew maybe two people besides like seeing their faces on TV and things like that. So that part made me really nervous. So I kind of kept to myself, but I had Brody with me. Thank goodness. I don't know what I'd do if he wasn't there. So I had someone to keep me company, someone to talk to me, help me stay relaxed. But I do find myself watching girls bowl, and then I will get distracted from my own bowling kind of thing. So like I'm sitting there watching Stephanie Johnson bowl, and I'm just so amazed. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I got to focus on me. So that was also a learning curve. The whole tour was a learning curve, and then I can take that and apply it for next year. But And then learning the double jump took me a little bit too. And I felt so bad. Like I never wanted to be one of those people who cut someone off. But it's a really like hard thing to learn. Um,
And explain that to us, because those of us who haven't bowled, regionals or tour events like that,
mhm.
we know our lane courtesy because our leagues have it. Some leagues have two lanes and some have one. But what is the double jump, and how do you get used to, going along with that?
Yeah, so I don't even know if I have it down completely yet, but from what I understand is so you have three pairs of lanes, okay? I'll scoot back a little bit. Okay, so say this pair goes, the middle pair goes, or one person on the middle pair goes, and then one person here can go, and then once they go, then this person goes. So it like goes in a rotation. So it's like this lane, this lane, this lane, this lane, this lane, this lane. I think, and I just hope and pray that I don't cut anyone off, basically.
Yeah.
um so yeah, I don't know, maybe we need to have like a tutorial video out or something like that for new members, because I felt so bad learning it. And once like the second tournament I got it down, but I think um so yeah, that's a hard one.
Sure. Which one was your first one? Was it the Rockford event that started off the
Yeah,
year?
it was. Yep, it was.
Okay. All right. And that was a pretty special event just because that was kind of the birthplace of the PWBA, right?
Yeah, oh my gosh, yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, it was insane. It's crazy to see these ladies that I watched on TV when I was a little girl just sitting at the bowling alley, and then bowling with them, competing with them. It still amazes me. It's just crazy. And um, so hopefully next year or this coming season, I do a little bit better and I can work my way up, work my way up the ladder and get my name out there.
Yeah. Hannah says that we are, so proud of you.
Thanks,
Uh,
Hannah.
and I think this is mom, right? Mom says
Yep.
that she's proud of you too. That's gotta, and Kristen says she, nice story. She can relate because she's shy too. That's gotta mean a lot, even when you're on the road, there's physical distance between you and your family and your friends, but especially now through social media and texting and all that, that these people are behind you, right? You've got a lot of support.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Ever since I went away for college, I've always had that support. People backing me up, always there if I have questions or if I need a favor with money to get gas, to bowl. When I went to New York, that was a crazy expensive trip. So, and my mom did a fundraiser for me, which she didn't have to do. So all of that, helped out, and then just putting my pennies away, saving my quarters, just so I can get that experience and grow from it. Yeah.
Yeah. Several of the pictures you sent my way were from the US Open. Tell me about that particular event. I mean, obviously, it's a major, and, it seems to hold more weight, at least to those of us watching from the outside. But how special was that for you, to go and compete in a major like that?
Oh, it was so awesome. It reminded me a lot of junior gold with different patterns each day, and then the match play at the end. But it was very, very challenging, just like junior gold, of course. But it was hard at first to decide on what bowling balls you could take with you. I believe it was 10, but I'm not 100% sure. That was a while ago. My memory is not always the best. But we had to decide on so many bowling balls and check them in. And we got to practice on the patterns the day before the tournament. So it is a lot on your body too. So each practice session, I believe, was an hour. So you had 4 hours of bowling that day, and then you had an 8 game block, the next day. So it can be a lot on your thumb too, and your knees, for sure. But it was another mental game thing, where I got my head, because I'm like, oh, this is a really big tournament. Like this is one of the biggest tournaments like I've ever bowled. So it's just learning from those mental game mistakes, and I'm not afraid to admit that at all. It's just something that I'm always working on, and it motivates me, especially when I can go back and I can watch the live stream and see how I bowled on the TV, and see where I missed things. So I like to be really reflective even after I bowl bad. Most of the time I'll make Facebook posts about it or something like that too. Yeah, and it's really nice to look at it. When you get your yearly memories or whatever, look back on this day. And then you can see, oh wow, I bowled a 630 4 years ago, and I thought that was awesome. And now, now people my age are bowling 800s, and so things have changed a lot, and it's really crazy. So, yeah.
Did you make the move to Wisconsin at this point when you're, into it, on tour, or was that a thing because you transferred colleges?
So when I transferred to Clark, Brody and I lived in an apartment, and it was kind of in a rocky side of town. We lived there for I think 3 years, and then we were just looking to get like a bigger space, somewhere where we could have a family, somewhere in a nice area. So in Dubuque, where Clark is, it was kind of expensive to live there. So we branched out, found a house to rent in Potosi, which is this very small town, like population of like 700 people. It's so nice. It's so quiet. Neighbors are so friendly. It was definitely a positive change for us. It does suck sometimes to drive 25 minutes to work or 25 minutes to town, but it is what it is. I mean, it's nice to to feel safe, and to be around friendly people all the time and things like that.
Yeah. How many events over the course of this past season did you end up bowling?
I believe I bowled 5. So I bowled Rockford, the Minnesota one. I bowled not the Dallas, the Long Island Classic, that series, I believe, in New York, and then the U.S. Open. And I think that was it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I missed Dallas, and I think that was it. Well, maybe I'm missing one in there. I can't remember.
So in the midst of all this, are you bowling local tournaments? Are you doing other things during the season, or is it totally, focused on the tour and that other stuff waits for the off season?
Yeah, so I bowl league every Tuesday. I actually bowl double shifts. So I bowl at 6:30, 3-man scratch league, and then Brody and I are secretary for the 8 o'clock league that night. So then we bowl again.
Okay.
I also practice during the week. I alternate working out and bowling. It also depends on when they have lanes available. It's a smaller center, so leagues most of the time fill up by like 5 or 6:30. It depends on the night, but once I leave work, and then I'm 20 minutes away from the bowling alley. So
Yeah. And this is Sunset Lanes in Dickeyville?
Yes. Okay. Small little center, just like my hometown, basically. Family owned business, super nice. I love bowling there.
Yeah. So you mentioned you hope you do better in this next year. Maybe you left something out on the table. I always hear that either you win or you learn. So, other than the obvious, you kind of learn the format, you'll learn, how many games it's going to take, and what kind of scores it takes, how you have to perform on, different patterns to make some noise on tour. What else did you learn maybe about yourself, through bowling those 5 events this last year?
Yeah. Definitely keep clear nail polish with you when you're bowling on tour, because your nails get ripped up so bad. Also, there's just like, I need to do like a survival tips for tour for my TikTok or something like that, because bringing like an ice pack and a heating pad, lots of things for your body just in case. And also having snacks with you constantly. Like, even if you're not hungry, eat a protein bar so that you have that energy, so that it has time to digest and things like that, and get into your body. I saw girls like doing pre-workout stuff, so then I was like, oh, that's smart. It'll give you energy before you bowl. So then I started doing that. And I found that helpful, especially when we had like it was like a 9 a.m. block and then a 1 p.m. block or something like that. We would take a break in the middle, and that was kind of tough to bounce back after sitting down eating lunch and then being cold and then having to retape everything again and loosen up again and all that kind of stuff. So, and then just mentally, I think putting myself out there, I think, is something I need to do more and something I struggle with. I really like to keep to myself, but I believe it might make my experience even better if I socialize with people and just make conversations, even if I feel awkward, and things like that. So that's something I definitely want to implement for next season.
Yeah. I, spoke with Jerry a little bit. Actually, we message exchanged about you. Like you said, you and he and Brody are doing a trios event. He said you three bowl all the time. He says you're awesome. You have the drive to be the best you can, and that you always work hard and always want to learn. Tell me about Jerry, about bowling with him. I mean, he's a heck of a competitor himself.
Definitely. Yeah. I think I first I've always bowled tournaments with him. He's bowled tournaments in Iowa, and I bowled tournaments in Illinois. And we never really knew who each other were. We just saw each other's names. But I first noticed him at the 11th frame when he won. I stayed and watched the finals. And I was like, oh man, this guy's good. So then you friend each other on Facebook and things like that. And then we ended up bowling a lot of the same tournaments together. So me and my fiance would request to bowl with him, on the same pair. And we got along really well. We bowl really well together. So yeah, and I don't know, me and him are pretty close. It's really nice to bowl with Jerry, to bowl with a familiar face, getting paired with someone you don't know sometimes. It makes me a little nervous. So it's always nice to have someone there to talk to you too. So
yeah. Jerry says, leave the tape on. It'll stick for days.
No, it will not. You're lucky if it stays on for 6 for me.
Are you talking tape on like your thumb or fingers or in the ball?
Oh, I was talking about thumb, like on my thumb.
Gotcha.
Like directly on my thumb. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. You had your first experience at the Peterson with Jerry this summer, late August. You posted on Facebook that your thought was, why isn't every tournament like this? Now, I have never bowled the Peterson. I've heard enough about it to want to bowl it someday. Interesting format, interesting conditions, and interesting pins, so I've heard. Tell us about that experience of actually competing in it.
Oh my gosh, it was so fun. And I was nervous again because I didn't know what to expect. I knew they play tricks on you and things were more challenging and stuff like that. So I was so nervous. I was like, oh gosh, I don't know what to expect. But I was just doing Jerry was there, so he was just telling me what to do. And Tyler Torno was there too, and he was helping me. He's like, just do this, or this lane hooks a lot, so do this. It was so fun because it was so hard. You can't see the pins. While you're standing up there, at the foul line, you can. If you bend down, you can see the pins. They don't have arrows on the lanes. So which is fine with me because I'm more of a visual person instead of direct, looking at a direct board or whatever. So what else? Oh, and they turn the heat on when it was August, so that you would get really, really hot and bowl bad. Yeah. So it was so fun. It was so interesting. I was like, oh my gosh, could every tournament be this hard? When you don't have to strike so much to win. That's something I struggle with. I could 9 spare all day, but just the strikes never string together, it seems like. So yeah, that's why I like tournaments like that, because they spare and then you win, and then spares can win you tournaments. So
sure. And yeah. I've heard you can only bring in 2 bowling balls, right?
Yeah. I brought in my pitch black and my spare ball. They told me to go without my spare ball, but I was very nervous to not do that because I'm just like one of those people, like that's mine. Like I can't back up ball. I'm not very good at that at all. So I needed that with me.
Yeah. Okay. Um, these days, how much are you bowling? I mean, you talked about that double shift league. Do you bowl a lot of tournaments right now while we're kind of in this holding process, waiting for a new schedule to come out for 23?
Yeah, I bowl I bowl a lot. I almost bowl every single weekend. I have a couple weddings coming up, so I won't be bowling those weekends, but that's okay. Sometimes we just need a break. So yeah, we're bowling next weekend. We Brody and I bowl the Greater Iowas almost every single one. We love Joe's tournaments. They're great. Uh, and then we'll just bowl random tournaments around the Midwest. So anything in Wisconsin, anything in Iowa, anything in Illinois. It's nice we're like on that border so we can hit all the states. I can drive through 3 states in one day.
Yeah.
So that part's nice. You're in an area where a lot of tournaments, like I don't have to drive more than 3 hours to bowl a good tournament. So that's nice.
Yeah. Jerry says it's the KT tape that sticks for days.
Oh, yes. It sure does.
And he says the air conditioning mysteriously broke.
Seriously, yes. It was bad. I'm glad I had my fan with me though.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. Um, you look forward to this next year because of the PWBA season, and I'll admit I'm not all that familiar with exactly when the schedule happens to come out. The PWBA tweeted last month something about, hey, would talking about the schedule, and there hasn't been anything coming out. So those of us who are fans of the PWBA will get it when we get it. But what's it like for you to have to know you're going to have to plan these trips? I mean, do you get any kind of inside info on a stop or two or anything like that? Or do you find out the same, that we do?
I'm not 100% sure because last year I didn't join until like January when the schedule came out. I believe it was January or February.
Okay.
So I don't know if maybe they will post the schedule. We do have like our own Facebook group that we'll talk on and stuff like that. So that's a good question. Yeah, I am. It is nice to see the schedule ahead of time just to plan out which tournaments I can go to, which maybe I need to save a little bit more. Maybe I need to do a fundraiser, a ball raffle, things like that to get there. So it just depends. I really wanted to bowl the Queens, but I know the Queens is in Vegas this year, and that's just too far for me. So, so we'll just have to pass on that one for this year, and hopefully next year it's somewhere just a little closer.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about Brody. I mean, he's a bowler too. You guys are kind of the bowling power couple of Potosi, at least, if not all of southwestern Wisconsin. But tell me about, him, his bowling, and you said he was with you on tour. Do you take advice from him and vice versa, or is that kind of off limits?
Um, that's funny. No, he is a very, very big help at tournaments. He keeps me sane. He's nice because he'll put the tape in for me in my ball so I don't have to mess around and like dig in there. And then if I move my thumb around too much, my thumb tape falls off and I get frustrated and then it just makes everything worse. So he's just there like for extra help, like, hey Brody, can you get me a drink? Can you get me a snack? Like things like that. And he's really good at lane play and catching things way before I do. He'll notice a lane is one board different than the other within a couple frames, whereas it would probably take me half the game. So it was really nice to have that second set of eyes. And of course, every couple has their arguments when they bowl, or if we disagree on something, I'll just do it my way because sometimes my way is right. So yeah, otherwise and that, you know, it's good to like get a hug if I'm really upset, or if I need to walk away, he'll come and walk away with me, or you know, just to bounce ideas off of and stuff like that. So it was really nice to have him.
Yeah. It's sometimes tough when I'm in the middle of asking questions and I'm, working with graphics, and then something like this comes up and says, "Ask your dad." And I'm not sure if that's about the tape, the air conditioning, the tour schedule. We're
I don't know
Yeah,
either.
Mike, maybe you can elaborate if you get to it before we call it a day here. I do want to talk about your social media presence because, like I said before, it's very strong, especially on TikTok, where we find Brooke the Bowler. So tell us about posting to TikTok and these videos that you have on your page where you've got somebody's comment in text and you make a video explaining the answer about bowling and superstitions and things of that nature.
Yeah, so I created this page just so I had a private page just for my bowling, so something just dedicated for bowling. And I just got bored one day and I started putting some videos together of me bowling. I was like, hey, I kind of like doing this. So, and then it's just another thing from Facebook. I think, I don't know, videos are faster, they're quicker, they're more likable than reading a post too. And I liked how I could interact with commenters on there and answer their questions directly. So, and it, you know, whenever I talk about bowling and things, I'll always be honest with people. So you ask me a question, I'm going to tell you, you know, what I think and things like that. I'm not going to beat around the bush or, you know, lie about something or whatever. But yeah, so uh, and then I also post on my Instagram too sometimes. I will do like Instagram bowling stories for the most part. Otherwise, I post on my Facebook page regularly.
Yeah. I remember one of those comment videos that you responded to, and it was about the fact that you don't have a 300. Now, the one event last year that I attended was the Twin Cities Open. And I mean, Kelly Kulick shot 300. She didn't win the thing though. I mean, you can 230 these ladies to death and win tournaments. You don't need honor scores. But I thought that was pretty neat because that's something that I would think some people would shy away from, yet you kind of took it on head on.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't bother me. I mean, like I said before, it's just a mental game thing. I just get so nervous. Like I get to five, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm halfway. Let's go. And I just need to turn it off, and just bowl and not think about it, not look at the score. During league, I do that a lot. I just don't look at the score. I just bowl and I sit down and I know who I bowl after, and I don't have to look up at the scores or anything like that. So, um, but yeah, I mean my high game is a 289, so nothing spectacular. But I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, a high game doesn't win you a tournament. So
Hmm. That's right. Yeah. Lots of high games too. um, Dad says money. He says the fundraisers. And, he was kidding, of course.
yes, he has helped me out a lot, though. Yes,
Yeah.
he has.
And Alyssa says that your little sisters are so proud of you, which is awesome.
Hmm.
Awesome. Um, so goals for the season. You say you want to do better. What is better on the PWBA tour, and how do you make it happen?
I think staying mentally in it. I think I'm gonna challenge myself to make like a really good friend this year on tour, and put myself out there. Okay. And I just think my spare percentage when I get nervous is awful. So, and then also my accuracy as well with my strike ball. Um, so I think putting myself under pressure and practicing that before I go will also help me because then I'll be used to that pressure and learn how to cope with that and how to manage that. Brody and I will sometimes bowl like step ladder matches against each other, and he's way better than me, which I can admit. Whatever, it's fine. I'll be better than him eventually.
Mhm.
um, but we'll do step ladder matches against each other, and we'll like bet on ice cream or something like that. And just to put that pressure on me, you know, sometimes I win and sometimes I don't. So, and it is fun too. So that makes practice more enjoyable while also working on something important.
Yeah. He says he wants a few more years before you start beating him. Is that fair?
I suppose that's
Yeah.
fair.
All right. So you've seen a couple of these episodes before. You know, at the end, we ask you to go off the sheet by challenging somebody else. Doesn't have to be the greatest bowler in the world, but it certainly can be. But we look for people who are passionate about the sport and have a unique story to tell, which of course we all do. So, Brooke Allen, who would you like to challenge to be on a future episode of Bowling with the Fef?
I would like to challenge Janelle. She's Janelle Bowling on TikTok. She used to bowl at McKendree, and now she posts a lot of informational videos on TikTok. She goes live during league. She's really awesome. I love her content. She's really cool. So I would check her out.
Awesome. Yeah, I would, I'm very interested in seeing that TikTok page because I love that stuff. But Janelle, if you happen to see this, you can find me on Facebook. I'm Andrew Pfeffer, or email bowlingwiththefef@yahoo.com. We have actually 2 shows coming your way next week. I've got one of them. The next one is Tuesday, October 11th. We're going back to our 6 p.m. time slot. We have PBA Hall of Famer Len Nicholson coming on. You may know him as the host of the groundbreaking podcast Phantom Radio. He's a published author many times over, big into story sharing when it comes to the greats of the game, and lane maintenance man on the PBA Tour for many, many years. So very excited to have him coming on Tuesday, October 11th, 6 p.m. Central. The very next night, we have Luke Rosedal coming on. He is one of the hosts of the Bowlers Show on YouTube. He is from Topeka, Kansas, and he will share his bowling story, his history in the pro shop business, and the work he's doing these days in the industry, and of course, maybe a little something about sports shots versus house shots, because that's kind of a thing right now. But yeah, Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, we will have new episodes coming at you. Brooke, tell us about anybody who's sponsoring you, anybody who's helping you along the way to kind of make that next leap on the PWBA Tour.
Yeah, I definitely want to say thanks to Bowlify. The jerseys are amazing. They let me do all my pineapple designs that I want. And also Joe Pro Grips. They're always there to help me. My thumbs stay in my ball all the time. Never lost a thumb. They're coming out with grips and more apparel and things like that. So a lot of new exciting things heading your way. And then also my TikTok, Brooke Bowler, and then my Facebook page, Brooke Allen on Facebook.
Awesome. Brody says, thank you for not challenging me.
I talked about you enough.
Maybe we can work on that,
Yeah, okay.
I've had people say no way, and a few months later, maybe, and then all of a sudden they pop on. So think about it, Brody. It's not so bad. And Mike says it was very fun to watch. Thank you for participating. It was, great to have you talking about Brooke as we kind of made our way through this. And thank you, Brooke. Really appreciate the time and getting to know your bowling story.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is awesome.
You bet. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We always appreciate that. Can't do it without the viewers. Have a great week. Be just and fear not. And we will see you again on Tuesday.